But like I said earlier this week, it is time to start dedicating more time every single day to our Fighting Phils. So let me welcome our special guest this morning, Luke Arcaini, Fox the Gambler. Luke and I on the Phillies. Good morning, Luke. How you doing today?
What's going on, Phil? How are you?
I'm better, than normal, but the Phillies lost. So I mean, it's funny. The anti-Philly narrative out there for the Philadelphia Phillies, they haven't had many opportunities to come out, and one day, one loss, and it's all over already.
There we go. Everything's over. Sell the team. Everything's it's all gone. Sorry if everything's great. If allergies and pollen wasn't a thing, everything would be even better. But I
Dude, I
probably
have to
sound like
do
I'm
my
talking
show
out
with
of a
a box
vacuum
of
right now.
tissues sitting
Ugh.
like right next to me right here because of that exact. It does not stop, and this the last week or two have been brutal.
Oh, it's so bad right now.
So I can't even keep my car washed because it's just layered
Nope.
on my car.
No, I have a black car. My car's green right now.
I have a dark gray car. It's the same
Gross.
exact thing. All right, let's talk Phillies, Luke. Obviously, yesterday's loss notwithstanding, this team is the best team record-wise in baseball. And the question we've asked nonstop this week on this show, is it sustainable the way they are playing? And I don't necessarily mean to 110, 112, 114 win total, but being one of, if not the best team in baseball. Is it sustainable? And we've gotten a lot of mixed feelings, mixed reactions from people throughout the week on that question. So I ask you to start the show. Is the Phillies' success sustainable at this point?
Yeah, absolutely. For the first time in a while, they're not like a home run or bust team right now. They're kind of playing with more slap hits, more walks. I think they're like fourth in the league in walks, which is really nice to see them find a way on base other than putting the ball in the gap or putting the ball over the fence. They're not some big crush home run on you team right now. I mean, there's only really like two guys with over 6 home runs, and it's Bryce and Schwarber. Other than that, your next guy is Marsh, but under that 5, 4, 3, like they're not really crushing you right now with home runs. They're 26th in the league in doubles, and they're third in hits. So that shows you how many singles they're hitting. They're putting the ball in play. They're putting the ball down the line. They're not just crushing home runs on you. So I think that for me has really been the biggest thing. Is the I think sort of issues in the past is once they get to the playoffs, they mash, right? Once they've been at Citizens Bank in October, they just hit like 4 home runs a game. But if those balls don't go out, then they run into some issues. They had a hard time last year putting the ball in play that wasn't extra base hits. These singles that didn't mean anything, leaving runners in scoring position. So they're capitalizing on chances a lot better than they have in the past.
And Big Al here is saying he loves the same thing you're saying, not living on the long ball. What has changed? I mean, because offensively speaking, it's basically now, obviously, with Trey Turner on the IL, it's a little bit different, but it's basically the same starting 9 outside of center field with Rojas, Pache, whoever out there. Still Kevin Long, the hitting coach. It's still Rob Thomson. What has changed in their philosophy at the plate that is making them more of a singles hitting team, a small ball hitting team? Like it's hard to imagine seeing so many guys and so many big name guys flip a switch and change so quickly.
Yeah. The biggest one, he's obviously hurt right now, but Trey Turner, he has 47 hits this year and only 2 of them are homers. He was consistently putting the ball in play, finding gaps. He was really the biggest drive, him and Alec Bohm. Even Alec Bohm, as we know, was on this crazy tear. He has 46 hits and he only has 4 homers. Bohm's lead the team in doubles. He's got to be towards the top of the league in doubles too right now. But they're just finding ways. They're like I said, they're finding gaps. They're finally sort of capitalizing with that runners in scoring position thing, which has been an issue as we know in the past. I mean, they won 11 in a row at home. I think it's like 18 of their last 22. The offense has been doing just about everything they They need to. While they haven't been probably the best, that's really the pitching staff right now. The offense has been everything you've needed so far, and an offense that over the last 2-3 years has really struggled in these first 2 months of the season. And I mean, they have the best record in baseball. So like there's only so much you can really say about the team that has the best record in baseball.
We'll get back to because I want to talk Alec Bohm in a minute. But first question here, Adam is bringing up: do you think Cody Clemens should stay once Turner comes back? Before I even let you answer it, I'm going to say Trey Turner is going to be gone for 6 weeks, so Cody Clemens is going to have a long time to either level out, get to where he realistically is as a player, or earn that spot. And I'll almost rephrase Adam's question as everything's going so well, even when you lose Trey Turner and you call up a Cody Clemens, even Cody Clemens is coming up with big hits.
Yeah, that's just kind of a sign of it, and that's kind of been the case for a while. Is like once they go, they just kind of go. Like it's almost like it doesn't matter who is in the lineup. Like we've seen these Rob Thomson throwaway lineups like once a week because that's what happens. I mean, you have to get your bench guys some reps. But we've seen these lineups that come out and everyone's like, what the heck is this thing going on?
I mean, I do it every single day.
Yeah, you know? And I know. And that they end up putting up 6-7 runs a game. Like it's just when you go on a run like that, it's just very like infectious. Like if you put in like an Edmundo Sosa in there, if there's a lefty on the mound, he's probably going to get at least one hit. They've just been top to bottom, just really solid. And on the note of Cody, he's like everything you need from his role, right? He's that guy. He's that first guy out of AAA. Is he good enough to maybe hold a spot for 162? I don't know. Maybe as a last option on a team that's not as good as the Phillies. But listen, if he continues to I mean hit like this, especially as a lefty off the bench, if Trey comes back and you're not getting a ton of run out of some of your other guys on the bench, then maybe they can think about it. But I wouldn't say Cody will be here once Trey gets back. But he's definitely a great option. That
it's just showing that
happens, he's there.
The old cliche saying, "Hitting is contagious." You know, it's showing that. This is something that, and Mike, thanks for tuning in, my man. Only real issue is the problem with men left on base. Their schedule. That's the thing here, and I hear a lot of people constantly talking about, well, they're playing this lighter schedule. First off, you can only play the teams that are on the schedule in front of you, and you've got to take care of business when it's done. But B, when you're the best team in baseball record-wise, every team is going to have a lesser record than you. You know, do you feel, and this is not a knock on Mike's question, this is just countering his point, do you think it's kind of an overblown narrative? Well, the Phillies have had an easy schedule so far.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the teams, like if you look at the logos of the teams on the schedule, I think the schedule's pretty easy. But if you look at the starting pitchers they faced, like it's Jose Barrios, they put up 8 runs on. Logan Webb, they put up 4. Dylan Cease, they put up 5. Joe Musgrove, 7. Nick Lodolo, 3. Hunter Green, 4. Garrett Crochet, 7. Like they're facing good pitchers. Like while these lineups, and I get it, this like historical run that the pitching staff is on partially could be a little bit because of the schedule. With some of these lineups they're facing, if you get to go from the Rockies to the White Sox to it's going to be pretty favorable for your pitchers. But no, I mean, maybe if we take away the logos of the teams on the schedule that we're playing and we looked at some of the pitchers and some of the bullpens that we've been facing, I still think they're playing some pretty good arms. And once again, you have to play the schedule in front of you. Like if they had a hard schedule and they were 500, we would be complaining.
How many times have we lost games in April to bad Marlins teams in the past and whatnot?
Then that's where everybody wants to win the NL East. If you want to win the NL East, you have to build up wins against bad teams. That was the issue why they fell off in the past. I mean, the Phillies were like under 500 against the Marlins the last 2 years, I think. If they won 3/4 of those games they lost, they probably would have been in the hunt for the NL East these last 2 years. So it's just a matter of beating up on the guys in front of you. They
Duck
can only
saying,
do so
asking the
much.
same question. How long can this last? And Luke, you're a little young. Duck might be a little bit older, but I'm getting vibes of like not from the same personalities on the team, but the success of the '93 Phillies, where they just came out of the gate red hot and they were able to maintain it throughout the rest of the season. It is sustainable, but and I don't know where the stat is now, but I heard this late last week that the Phillies had given their pitching staff a 2-run or more lead after the 4th inning in something like 85% of the games. And that's why they're winning. In fact, like pitching or hitting is contagious, but contagious hitting also has such a massive effect on your pitching staff as well, right?
Yeah, so they have the Phillies pitching staff has allowed less than three or less earned runs in 34 of their 39 games or something like that. So I mean, the lineup has been great, but the pitching staff is really where it's going right now. Really top to bottom, all 5 or 6 guys. Even Walker had a good start the other day. Excuse me.
Actually, Taijuan Walker's first start was really good till the final inning when he was probably out there for 2 or 3 batters too long.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I don't know. And like, I have a hard time trying to like think about the like, is this sustainable thing? Because like, there's nothing you can do to like control that. Like, there's really no that there was never a reason for me to really get deep into that like sustainable thing, because like they don't know if it's sustainable. We don't know if it's sustainable. You just have to go. That's baseball. Like you just kind of got to ride the waves. Like the Phillies, I'm sorry to break it to everyone, the Phillies are going to have a 5-game losing streak at some point this season. It just happens. It's baseball. But like they just got to keep pushing through. It's a long season. I still think they're only like a quarter of the way through their season or something like that. There's a lot of baseball left. We have June, July, August, September left, and the back half of May. There's probably about 100-something baseball games left. There's going to be losing streaks. There's going to be winning streaks. There's going to be stretches where Kyle Schwarber goes 0 for his last 25. There's going to be stretches where Alec Boehm is 0 for his last 15. Like it's just going to happen, and that's the beauty of the sport. That's really why I've always loved it. It's such an unpredictable sport, and it's so unpredictable once you get to October. I don't think anybody thought the Texas Rangers were winning the World Series last year, but that's baseball.
You're saying like Alec Boehm might go for 15 or Schwarber might go for 25. The thing is, we're winning with certain people succeeding, and there's still certain players on this team that haven't even. And I know Nick Castellanos isn't an MVP caliber player anymore, but Nick Castellanos isn't going to hit 200 all year. So maybe when Kyle Schwarber goes into a slump, all of a sudden Nick Castellanos goes on one of those tears where he's the best hitter in baseball. So there's enough, even with the pitching. I mean, I don't expect Ranger Suarez to win the Cy Young, but I also don't expect Aaron Nola to be our most average pitcher on the rotation. So when some people balance out, other people are going to get hot as well. So you kind of just got to ride the waves of the season.
Yeah, and that's the thing with that Ranger Suarez note. I really did try to tell people. Everyone's like, take him 15-1, take him 16. I'm like, do whatever you want with your money, but like, they're not going to give realistically, the number 3 pitcher on a team is Cy Young. I get it. But listen,
no.
I've been drinking the Ranger juice.
The World Series
I get it. Dude's been phenomenal, and he's just a man too. Like that's why everybody I think loves him. Like obviously he's a great pitcher, but he's just goes out there. He does his job every 5 days, like and then he's done, and then he comes back the next 5 days and he does his job again. Like he's just. He is the true definition of a professional out
there. With the pitching staff, obviously, like I joked kind of sarcastically, Aaron Nola is the most average of the pitchers so far. Obviously, in the past week, Taijuan Walker got reinserted to the starting rotation, and Spencer Turnbull was, bumped to the bullpen, which I did not like. I get why they did it, but I don't like it. Do you think the Phillies made the right decision in making that kind of switch in their rotation?
I mean, it's any time you take a guy out of your rotation that has like a 1.5 ERA. I don't really think many people are gonna like it. But I was definitely worried about the innings. I think if you gave Turnbull a few more weeks, I think he would have started to sort of decline. I the velocity I think would have went down. He hasn't pitched over 50 innings in like 4 years, I think. It was kind of the same situation with Matt Strahm last year. Matt
Mhm.
Strahm started off as the starter. He was throwing great. Everyone was like, why do you take him out? And then you got to that middle of the season where Strahm looked like he couldn't throw a pitch over the plate for 2 months. They kind of had to ease him back in. He got sort of like a load management thing throughout
Mhm.
the season. Just you can't and I get it. It's if you take away stats and you just watch every 5 days, Spencer Turnbull looks like probably the best starter in your rotation. Like he
Mhm.
is like arguably just based on all 5 games that these or 8 starts that these guys have had, he looks like one of the better, if not the best starter based off of those 8 games. What will happen once you add another 8 games and another 8 games? That's where you kind of get into the question marks. So I obviously didn't love that they did it, but I understand that they had to. And I do think he will be very valuable later in the season as sort of that like piggyback role, whether it's behind Walker, Sanchez, even if Nola has a bad day, you got to throw him out there. Ranger gets knocked around early. Um, he seems like a guy that will he 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 just wants to win. I think that's kind of what his interviews have been like these past few weeks. Every time they've asked him anything about his thoughts, he's just like, I just want to win. You can throw me wherever. So if he's ready to go wherever, then I think the Phillies have a plan for him right now.
Back real quick. We've mentioned his name a few times here. Again, guys, we're talking to Luke Arcaini, Fox the Gambler, and Luke and I on the Phillies here. Alec Bohm has been. I mean, I always thought Alec Bohm had some really great potential in him, but even I couldn't have seen this stretch he's had over the last month or so. I mean, before his O for the other day, I mean, I think it was up to like 365 his batting average at one point. Um, again, doing it with base hits, driving in a lot of runs, but not the long ball. Um, is he finally coming into his own? And I know you said you don't like to, don't worry about sustaining it, just go game by game. But are we seeing finally that coming out party for Alec Bohm, where he really solidifies himself as one of the elite hitters in baseball?
Yeah, I think we are. I think my biggest thing with Bohm is I think he's finally starting to realize that he doesn't have to swing as hard as he can.
Mhm.
Um, Alec Bohm is like 6'5", like this dude's pretty built. Like
Mhm.
the issue with Bohm, I always thought early in his career was that he always just tried to kill the ball. He was trying to hit it out of the stadium every single time, and I think these guys and I know Trey was working with him a little bit in the offseason. It's Bohm has realized that he is built so he can put a normal swing on the ball, and he doesn't have to uppercut, like he doesn't have to try and put the ball out, which is something that he's done in the past. His swing looks level. He looks calm at the plate. He doesn't look antsy. That was always Bohm's issue in the past. Is when he was sort of struggling, he got very antsy at the plate. He would strike out. He would chase. He had a pretty bad chase rate on those bad streaks last year. But he's finally starting to, I think, once again realize sort of the build that he is and the type of hitter he is. And I think that takes time, right? I mean, he's been up here for a while, but that takes time to sort of figure out. Because I mean, Bohm, third baseman, he like if you play third base for a big team in the National League, like that's a lot of pressure. Like that's a big spot to play, especially after those few first seasons of his career with all the defense stuff. But I think what we're seeing of Bohm right now is what I think we sort of dreamt of and what we took at number 3 in that draft when we grabbed him.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
You're good. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I always saw him as a guy that had the potential of being a 300, 310 hitter, never the 20 home run guy, but I always saw him with that capability of driving in 100 plus runs. I was gonna say, to follow up with that on him, even when Trey Turner comes back, you've seen a lot more of him now in that 4 hole protecting Bryce Harper. Even when Trey Turner comes back, if he keeps up at some level of success, isn't he the right person in this lineup to be that guy that's protecting Bryce Harper in the lineup?
Yeah, he won't go anywhere for a while out of that cleanup spot. There's just absolutely no reason. He is the definition right now of you don't fix what's not broke. Like don't change anything, leave it how it is. He feels comfortable there. I think the Phillies feel comfortable having him there, and I think that was always the plan. I think the Phillies always, since they drafted him and since they called him up, they always wanted him in the cleanup spot. He's built like a cleanup hitter, and he has the potential to be a cleanup hitter for the rest of his career. Just the way he's built, the way he swings. So I think as long as he stays sort of consistent with right now, see, I get it. And in baseball, you go through these hot streaks. But like that didn't even seem like a lucky hot streak to me. Like that seemed like he's finally realizing and he finally truly found his swing, which is really awesome.
Okay. All right. Before I let you go here, Luke, the obligatory, as I'm told, I have to ask every guest today, what are you feeling? Is it a Godfather or Goodfellas kind of day today?
It's a good question.
I mean, someone else did comment, you look more like a casino guy than a Godfather or Goodfellas guy, but
I'll go Godfather.
Godfather today. Gotcha. All right. So obviously, Luke Arcaini, you do a lot of work over there at Fox the Gambler, and you got the Luke and I podcast with Sean Bryce. What do you got going on this week? When are you going to be appearing on the radio and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think either tomorrow or Friday. Maybe both days. But I'm always active over on Twitter. Should have a new pod about twice a week. Spotify, Apple, all that stuff. But I'm everywhere. That's my goal. So we should be everywhere. Anywhere.
That's the goal of all of us, to be everywhere and seen as often as possible. Maybe one day we get that big break, right?
Yeah, hopefully.
I mean, honestly, do you even want the big? I got a former retired Inquirer writer coming on next week, and I can't wait to ask. I mean, with all the layoffs happening in the radio and print media business right now, I mean, just doing our own thing online. This is kind of the way to go nowadays, right? Like our dreams of the big time might need to not be the right dream anymore. Is what I keep thinking.
Yeah, it's a shame. There's a lot these big media companies just laying off these good employees. There was a big one yesterday I saw. So
there are a couple big ones, and one that I like a lot.
Been...
I've always respected the work ethic of and stuff. So yeah, it's a shame the way it is. But again, guys, make sure you're following Luke Arcaini on all social media platforms. Luke, thank you very much for your time. We'll get you back on again sometime soon to talk more Phils.
Sir, thanks, Phil.